Alrighty, I am joined now by KU's newest member of the class of 2023, Surahz Buncom. Surahz, how you feeling after the news, and how's your day been so far?
I'm feeling great. I'm very comfortable and elated about my decision. My day is going pretty well. I actually just got a few messages from receiver Coach Samuel, just now.
For sure, I love it. We'll probably dive into that here in just a few minutes, but I guess for you starting off, the decision to commit to Kansas now, why was KU kind of the place for you?
Well, as I said before, a lot of like Coach Samuel had relayed to me that I'm the number one guy on his recruiting board, and a lot of schools have told me that, but not a lot of schools have showed me that. And KU has been pretty consistent throughout since actually before I even had the offer of reaching out to me, multiple members of their staff reaching out and kind of showing me that I'm the guy that they want. So.
Yeah, for sure. And I remember seeing some of that stuff,
mm.
even going back into like early January before they had offered. And so for you, let's start with the relationship side of things. Who were some of the coaches that you built a relationship with over time? Obviously, Coach Samuel being the wide receivers coach, you being a wide receiver that KU's recruiting. That's got to be a big one. But just in general, who are some of the closest relationships you had with some of the staff members?
As you said, definitely Coach Samuel led the charge. Coach Quizzer, Coach Q, I call him, definitely had a lot of conversations with him. I actually spent about the most time with him and Coach Samuel during my unofficial back at the junior day, and Coach Rob, the general manager. I spent a lot of time with him actually during the Texas versus Kansas game, the Big 12 championship senior night. So yeah, I sat next to him and I'd say, and the director of recruiting, Coach Schwarzkopf,
Mm-hmm.
I'd say they're the four guys I've talked to the most. Definitely, we're still in contact with a lot of the staff members. Like Coach Leopold, I was in contact with him via Twitter DMs for a while. So, as I said, there's a long list of staff members that continuously reached out.
Most
Coach
definitely.
Necki, the offensive coordinator. Yeah, so.
Yeah. And I guess let's dive more into the relationship with Coach Samuel. Obviously, he arrived in Lawrence in December. His
mm.
first kind of full season is coming up here. But in terms of your conversations, getting to meet him in person when you were there in March for that unofficial visit, what are some of the things that stand out about Coach Samuel and why'd you like him as your position coach?
Definitely the type of person he is. His personality for sure. He has high character. He's very honest and transparent. He's been like that from the get go, from the start of the recruitment up until now. He's always kept it 100 with me and never sold me any lies or anything like that. It's coaches' jobs to tell you everything you want to hear. Kind of they sell the school to you, but he's always kept it truthful and honest with me. And I love his coaching philosophy. A lot of the things that I heard him go through during the practice, I caught on to, and we had a position meeting, individual position meeting, and that lasted about 10 to 15 minutes. And even within that short time frame, there's a lot that I took from it, and there is even more that he actually had on his Google slide ready to present, but I didn't have enough time to get to that, unfortunately. But yeah, definitely, I'd say his character, personality, and coaching philosophy were the three main things that I took from him.
Of course. And walk us through kind of the moment then, when you decided to give the coaching staff your commitment, kind of take us into that moment and what it was like and what their reaction was like.
So prior to my commitment, I was talking it over with my dad for about like an hour and a half to 2 hours. We were just going through the pros and cons, and I was kind of just telling him why and why I don't choose these schools. And so I had hit up Coach Samuel on iMessage and asked for us to FaceTime. So we were on the call, and he had like just a very regular stork face throughout like the first 30 minutes of the call. Then I get to saying I'm ready to commit to Kansas, for my exact words, and yeah, his face lit up. He was very excited. He was like, if I'm dreaming, don't wake me up now because I don't want to wake up. So and then he went to get Coach Leopold on the phone with me as well. And so yeah, so both him and Coach Leopold were very ecstatic over the phone. And then since then, I've been getting messages from like the rest of the staff congratulating me and welcoming me to the Jayhawk family.
Definitely. And on the visit side of things, you initially kind of set the visit for later in the month, and
Hmm.
you moved it up to be around some of those other kind of priority targets that
Yeah,
KU
for sure.
has. And
Mhm.
so on that visit, what are you kind of looking forward to seeing, and kind of it's your second time back on campus, so you'll be a little more familiar with it. But what are you kind of looking forward to here with the official visit that'll be a few days?
Yeah, as you said, it's my second time on campus. So through the first time, I kind of actually learned a lot throughout that 1 day visit, and I've done a lot of research myself. So a lot of the answers that I had are already a lot of the questions that I had are already answered. So what I'm really just looking for is like I might have some, they might answer some questions that actually weren't questions originally. So they might surprise me with a few things, and I'm just looking forward to just see more of the area. I spent some time on the unofficial, going driving around Lawrence, like downtown Lawrence, and we had
Mm.
some good food at Joe's Barbecue. Coach Hugh had suggested that. So and then I've heard of Johnny's Tavern just recently, so I
Mhm.
think I'm gonna have to check that out next time we're out there. So just getting a more of a feel of like the terrain and the feel of Lawrence a little bit more. Definitely like want to just check out like the classroom tours and things like that. So and I would
Definitely.
also like to talk to an academic advisor, specifically from the business program, since that's my intended major.
Yeah, and so you mentioned, you lead me kind of the next question there. With business, why is that something that is kind of big for you, and what about that kind of interests you the most?
Well, since I was young, I've always kind of gravitated towards business because both my parents are business owners themselves. My mom is in cosmetology, so she's owned a hair salon for decades before I was even born. She had two beauty salons and a beauty supply store open at one point, and she still actually owns one now to this day and works there. And my dad is a property management. He owns property real estate all around like San Diego, St. Louis,
Mm.
and in other states, and kind of rent those out. So kind of always just gravitated towards wanting to be my own boss, with my parents kind of being role models. So
Definitely. And obviously, the first time you were on campus, it seems like it was a big visit for you, getting to see everything. I'm curious too, getting to watch kind of a practice. That's not something that really get to do very often. And so what were kind of some of the things that stood out to you getting to watch KU football go through that practice?
Definitely the position drills. The position drills really stood out. A lot of the concepts that Coach Samuel was performing had the receivers doing. I took note of for sure. There's like some drills I've never seen before, but I definitely liked them and actually relate those drills over to my coach. Like we should do this for sure. Especially there's like screen drills in my offense. We run screens a lot as well. So like as far as blocking and fundamentals, he was really teaching fundamentals and technique,
Mm.
which is it's where it all starts. So and then a lot of people take special teams for granted. They don't really think of special teams, but
Mm.
the special teams coach really takes attention to detail with the special teams. I mean, it's important because you could very much easily lose the game by 1 or by 3 points, and that's simply just a field goal. So yeah, special teams is definitely important, and they really take that into account, which I've noticed a lot of other teams kind of haven't been that way. So
Most definitely. And, also on the official visit, or unofficial visit, I should say, getting to see Allen Fieldhouse, and that Texas game was,
oh yeah.
remember that it was a pretty intense kind of atmosphere there at the start with how kind of close things were.
Uh-huh.
But for you, like, what's that experience like, getting to see a game at Allen Fieldhouse, kind of getting to see the KU fans in full force there? I guess what sort of impression does that leave on someone like you that's seen KU for the first time?
Well, I've never been to a college basketball game nor an NBA game at all. So for that to be my first experience, definitely definitely was a big impression. It was a great atmosphere. I was right next to the student section, so yeah, it was pretty loud. I believe that game went into double overtime. I know it went into one overtime. I'm not sure if it went to double, but yeah, the crowd and atmosphere was definitely crazy, and a lot of the football players I've seen, they want to transition that onto the football field.
Mm. And during that unofficial visit too, I guess were you able to talk much to any kind of active players? Obviously, you're there at practice; they can't talk to you then. But kind of in the time after, or any sort of point during that visit, were you able to talk with some players? And if so, what are kind of some of your memories from getting to talk to them?
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to talk to any of the players. As I said, during practice is really the only time I was able to see them. It was a pretty jam-packed day. Like we had the campus tour and all of that. But I've reached out to a few of the receivers myself and the players, and they kind of give me a vibe. They gave me told me the vibe of the building and things like that. So I didn't get to talk to them in person, but I've reached out afterwards, and they definitely gave me some advice and some things about Kansas.
Definitely. And it sounds like, you've gone out of your way to do some own research. And we talked about that kind of before we hit record, that you've gone out of your way to look into KU and do kind of your due diligence on your own.
Mhm.
What are some of the things that maybe interest you the most about kind of Kansas and some of the things that you saw based on the research that you did?
Definitely the networking. You can tell they put a lot of resources and money into their networking, both like alumni networking and student networking. I have something here in my notes. I took a lot of notes on what I've got from the
Mm.
website and from the KU Alumni Association app. Something called the Jayhawk Career Network, which is a network that gives students and alumni access to career resources, jobs, events, programming, and other connections in every stage of your career. They have something called hirejayhawks.com, which helps connect students and employers like to career services and things of that such. And I've noticed they have a mentoring program and things called KU Bridges, which my brother is very fond of. And just noticed things like their employment rate 6 months after graduation is pretty high. It's up there in the 90 percentile. So just things like that. I didn't notice that in other schools. I did the research and it was a lot harder to find. I had to
Mm.
dig deeper for those type of answers. But KU had it all laid out for me. It was just right there. So I definitely took a lot of notes on that, and definitely their networking for sure.
Definitely. And I guess let's transition to on the field. We haven't been able to hit on that much yet at all. For KU fans that maybe aren't into grinding on huddle and watching kind of all your highlights, explain to them what KU is getting in you and your abilities as a football player.
I believe that they are getting a very versatile receiver. I played both sides of the ball in high school, but as I said, I'm recruited from Kansas as a receiver. Um, Coach Samuel describes me as a lethal a lethal weapon, somebody who's 6'4", but a lot of the taller receivers aren't as don't have as much body control. They're a little bit more clumsy. So he's like, the fact that I'm 6'4" with great body control, great hands, what you call me, sure-handed is his exact words. He said I have a big wingspan, catch radius, and just the fact that I can 6'4", run a 10.5, 100 meter. I can high jump 6'3", so I'm a mismatch to a lot of those shorter corners in the 50-50 ball, especially with me already being 6'4" myself with the larger wingspan, and I can get in and out of my breaks pretty quickly. So I would describe myself as a pretty tall receiver who could go deep for the long ball or catch a slant or a screen, like 3 yard routes and take it the distance.
Definitely. And I know you do some track too. I think for me personally, when you look at, this day and age and football players, especially at the high school level, track is a big thing, and being able to get verified, times for whether it be jumping or sprinting. Talk to us a little bit about kind of your track background and how this spring season there in San Diego went for you.
So this was actually my first year of track ever. I've never ran track before. I was always a big baseball guy. As you know, track is like the same season as baseball, so kind of had to pick and choose. And I was always a big baseball guy, but I switched it up a little bit and decided to run track. And going into my first meet, I actually didn't even know what was considered a good track time. I was like, I just trying to just trying to run my fastest and just progress from whatever time I get. First ever meet, and I ended up running a 10.87. I posted on Twitter, and it just blew up. I was like, oh, so that must have been good. So since then, and a 10.5, and then I read times, and then ended up. The plan was actually just for me to run the 400, excuse me, the 4x1, the 100, and the 200. But my track coach needed high jumpers, and there was nobody else to high jump. And she was like, "Well, if you want to give it a try, you can go ahead." So, no, I just just for the team can get points. I tried high jumping in My first ever time high jumping, I jumped 5'10", and then the next meet I jumped 6'2", and then from there I PR'd at 6'3" on the track season. So my PRs would be a 10.5 in the 100 and a 6'3" in high jump.
Yeah, that's all great, especially, I mean, considering the fact first time doing track, getting a lot of those measurements and times, I think that's all very impressive stuff. One more question here for you, and then we'll let you go and wrap things up. What excites you most about being committed and being the first commitment in KU's 2023 class?
Oh, it cut out a little bit. Maybe repeat that.
Yeah, just what excites you most about being KU's first commitment in the class of 2023, and just what excites you about kind of being committed to KU now?
As I said in the beginning, I'm very comfortable and ecstatic about my decision. It took me literally 3 seconds to start recruiting. Every time I seen somebody, there's a lot of players getting KU offers yesterday from like camps. A lot of coaches were at the camps,
Mhm.
and I was seeing a lot of people picked up camp offers, and I went straight to their DM and yo, like I just committed to KU a few days ago. We're building something special here, and I definitely got on the recruiting front. So I say that's like the most exciting part. I hit up a few guys who's going to be out there on the official with me, and it seems to be looking pretty good for KU. A lot of players have them in their top 3 or even top 2. So
Hmm. Love it. Great to hear. Well, for all the KU fans out there, where can they follow you on all the social media so they can keep track of you here going into your senior season and then when you arrive in Lawrence in the future?
so my Twitter is at Surahz B, so SURAHZ, and then a capital B. And then my Instagram handle is a little wonky. It's something you might have to write down. D3C13AR. Kind of something I made in middle school and just stuck with it because I like being unique.
I love it. That's a perfect way to cap it. Thank you a bunch for jumping on the Fog.net podcast, and definitely excited to see where things go for you from here.
No problem.